right on time at 10:30 for me at least. Great to have you guys. Whew, I'm excited. We're going to be talking about a really cool document that we're giving away. Osprey and I have been building it so far. If you are interested in helping when you see it and you want to put in a lot of work with us, feel free to send me a DM on Discord. I'm LakeSo5. And if you want to just help minorly, I'll show you how to do that too. But what is it we're talking about? Well, it's the All the Things document. So let me open up that over here. Let's go to All the Things. Boom. Move that right over my face. Cover me up. Boom. There it is. All right. So here we are on the All the Things document. Now this is linked in the description, so you can go ahead and see that just in the video description. And this document, if you go to the welcome page, looks like this. It's basically saying there's a bunch of things to look at. And the idea is that it's going to help you discover things in the world's desktop editor that you wouldn't have otherwise known how to do, and just develop your skills. And so if we go to the All the Things summary, you have a list of everything that we've added so far. We are expanding this still. So we've worked on the properties panel, but that's maybe a third or half of the properties on the properties panel. There's still quite a bit more to add. So this is a living document. You're going to see it updating regularly. And if we go and look at like tint color, tint strength, and tint brightness, if you're interested in what that is, you can click the More Details button. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you over here, and it says tint is available for custom models and changes the color being applied. I'm trying to figure out how to scroll. There's a scroll bar. The color line being applied to the texture. And then we're going to ideally have a link here to show you more. And sometimes we'll have a picture to show you stuff like that. And sometimes you'll also notice down here, you'll see our work in progress, things that we're working on happen down here. But here's where if you want to help, say you know about a great document for tint, you can right click and it'll have an option to comment. And then you can leave a comment there with a link or just some information under the Learn More tab. And then I can take that comment and compile it in and just add a little link like that you see here for this one. So this is the All the Things document. There's an absolute ton in here. As you can see, you've got Horizon APIs, TypeScript, and it's probably a good idea to talk about what some of these things are. So let's start with TypeScript. TypeScript is all the basics that are like fundamental to TypeScript, the language itself. Horizon APIs is probably more than half the code you'll be doing is not in TypeScript, but in the APIs that Meta wrote for Horizon, which is still technically TypeScript. But the point is that it's not like, you don't need to just say constant number equals 1, right? Like, the point is you need to be able to do stuff, and doing stuff is what the Horizon API does. And so here you can see you've got custom player movement, you've got player inputs are really complicated, there's code block events, networked events, you've got entity, which is what everything is in Horizon. We have got all the different gizmos here, so text gizmo, trigger gizmo, particle trail effects. We're going to actually look at quite a few of those gizmos in today's video. We've got different body parts and what those are. We've got player features like jump speed, locomotion speed, is grounded, their gravity of the player, what's the index of the player in the world, what's the player's name. There's so many different things, and if you want to learn about it, all you have to do is click on it. You can also hover, and occasionally, if you've been to that page already, it'll show you more details right here. But let's go ahead and go to player. And if we go to player, we can see it represents a player in the world. This is the primary class for managing an individual's player's physical presence and gameplay in the world, including their avatar. And I'm going to use that scroll wheel better. I'm so used to my Mac where I've got a touchpad to scroll around. But anyway, so we got player dot, and then you see all the different properties of that player. So quite a bit there. Continuing on our journey through the different things that exist. You'll notice that in the Horizon APIs that there are different what we call modules, and a module could be like nav mesh, which is for how NPCs navigate your world. There's also avatar AI, and lots of just custom UI has its own section, so you'll see these prefixes in the Horizon API section of the All the Things summary. And as we scroll down, we've also got desktop editor, features. So what's primitives and sub D, what's our player persistent variables, which they've actually renamed. I'm gonna have to go put a note in this. I'm actually just like mildly frustrated. Let's see, comment. They're now calling them PVARs, and I just absolutely hate it. New name, WTF, LOL, comment. So, like, these have been PPVs forever, but for whatever reason, they've just started calling them PVARs. So you'll see in different documentation, sometimes it's called a PPV, sometimes it's called a PVAR now. Anyway, it'll throw you for a loop. But that's the goal, is we want to document all these different things. We've got gizmos, which are things that you can pull out. They're entities. You'll see a lot of those in just a minute. The properties panel is the properties panel of an entity in Horizon. Custom models have some features, so talking about glow, things that have glow, things that have custom, I guess there's just a generic, but we're also going to talk about transparency at some point in here and other features. Organizing to-do items, so we have project management suggestions, so like how do we organize to-do items at Vidyuu at least, it's good versus viral ideas, this concept of like doing 1 for money and 2 for fun. If you're not here for money, just do them all for fun, but what makes the world go viral is a cool talk I gave, and if you click on that, you'll see on the right side under the Learn More, there's the link to the talk, so you can watch it. And even if you wanted to see what the NDA features are about, which is kind of a funny page where there's just really like, here's avatar clothing. Everyone knows avatar clothing exists, but you can get a link to that page. I can't click that because I am logged in, but if you click that and you're not logged in, you won't be able to see it. For reference, this stuff here is available to partners. You can apply to become a partner just by Googling. It's like MHCP Horizon Partner. Oh, that was the link right there. Here it is. Boom. I should actually put this at the top of the NDA page, but here's how to apply to become a partner and get access to specialized tools. The thing is, they're not really expanding this program, and if they are, it's very, very slowly, so most people won't get in. It's kind of unfortunate, but just heads up, if you're applying, don't expect anything from it. So I do want to put that in here at the bottom. You can apply to the partner program here, Control V, there we go. And so just like from a very quick standpoint, you can get into the MHCP very easily. It's a different program, but there's a secret small program called the Partner Program, which has some special features, which they didn't until about a month ago. There was literally no difference between MHCP and Partner other than they had a special Discord, and now we've got a couple features that we're not allowed to use in like competitions. So like you can't use avatar clothing in competitions. There's another avatar clothing feature, but I can't tell you what it is. But you'll start seeing it in Worlds soon, I'm sure. But it can't be used in the competition. So anyway, and the hardest part for me is I can't make tutorials on it. That's the hard part, because I really want to make videos, but I can't. So anyway, hopefully that stuff will get open to the public. I'm not expecting clothing to get open to the public. I just feel like there's too much there, but we'll see. Maybe it will. It'd be nice if it did. Okay, so that is a quick introduction to this all the things document and all the all the things of all the things. So feel free to check it out. Links in the description. You're going to start seeing a lot of videos covering topics in here and kind of demonstrating how you can use this document. And yeah, because I think this is ideally, when it's done, will be an amazing source of information to learn about all these different things. Like under TypeScript, you'll see there's pictures with examples of the scripts for quite a few of these. And since Osprey has a coding background, he wrote in a few at the bottom that I'm like, I didn't even know about these. These are kind of great. I don't know if I'm going to adopt them into my workflow, but they're really interesting to learn about. And there will be plenty more to be added in the future. So, all right, that is the all the things document. Going to close out of that, minimize, and there's Horizon. And we're going to go to camera while I take a look at the chat. Welcome in, Liz. Great to have you. Great to have, wow, we've got 10 people here today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. What we're going to do next is start going through things that are not programming related that are in the desktop editor. So if you're following along with the playlist, and if you haven't seen the playlist, it's on the channel. It's Thinking Like a Programmer or something like that is the name. And so this video should be spliced in like at 3rd or 4th position. And the idea is that you've just started your like TypeScript journey. You're using the desktop editor to write code, but like there's a ton of features in the desktop editor that don't require code. So ideally, we've now given you a document to go and find things, to go and learn more about specific topics that you're interested in. And then the second thing we're doing is we're now going to go with the rest of this video. So you could stop here if you wanted, but you shouldn't, because we're going to see a bunch of features that are available in the desktop editor that don't require code that you'll want to use and you'll need to use in many cases. After this video, as the playlist continues, we're going to dive into topics like in small increments. So yesterday we released a video on avatar scale. It's a small, short 10-minute video. Amazing, so good. And then the day before that we had a little bit more complicated one. And then I'll organize those based on difficulty. So it'll start with the easier and it's going to get progressively harder. But theoretically, after this video, it's more or less kind of like a choose your own adventure type of playlist. So if you see a topic you're interested in, you can click on it. Just know the stuff at the bottom of the playlist is going to be harder. And the stuff at the beginning, like right after this, should be easier. So the script we did yesterday was 1 line of code. It's great. It's great. Okay, cool. Feel free to, throughout today, ask questions in the chat. I'm going to be relying on that to know if there's any more detail I need to cover on specific topics. And yes, I think without further ado, let's jump into the desktop editor features. So here we are in the desktop editor. I'm going to continue using this think like a programmer world. I'm actually just going to delete stuff out of it so that I can use it for more than one video. So I actually already did delete everything that was in there before. Let's give that a second to load up. Very nice. All right, so welcome in. And I think it's a good time to just freeze and look at what's here, because there are quite a few things, right? We've got our Gen AI tab. I don't like that it's open by default. So you can close it and then reopen it by hitting Gen AI here. That also fixes that weird black bar that's kind of there. This Gen AI for Horizon Worlds has quite a few features. One of my favorites is generating a skybox. You can generate 3D models. They usually have a pretty decent model, but the texture that's generated for them is really gross. You can also generate textures, but like I just mentioned, they're usually pretty gross. You can generate sound effects. These, at least as of 8 months ago, are pretty decent, but they're best for horror games because they're kind of scary. Like AI isn't really good at making sound effects. And so because of that, it makes great horror sound effects because they're so imperfect. They actually make perfect horror sounds. I haven't tried the ambient audio, but theoretically that could be like cricket noises. And then generating scripts should just never be touched. It's absolutely awful. I keep getting, and I am so sorry to everyone, but I get almost every day somebody sends me an AI generated script and they're like, I need help fixing it. It's not working. And I'm like, this is AI generated. Like there's a reason it's not working. I have heard from somebody who works on this tool that it does work really well if you know all of the Horizon TypeScript APIs, because then you can tell it exactly what you want. But in my opinion, if that is the case, there's no reason you should be using AI. You should be just writing it yourself because that's faster. There is actually one cool new feature that I showed in yesterday's video that applies to a lot more of the gizmos. So we used a trigger gizmo yesterday. I'll demonstrate this really quickly, especially because if you're watching this in order, you'll be seeing this in the next video. And then the custom UI is one that's also pretty solid. And so if you go to the bottom, you can click Attach Script. And typically we use scripts and we create a new script here at the top. But now that we have this Attach Script button, if you scroll to the very bottom, it says New Trigger Script. And so there's a default trigger script, and it's pretty decent. It's not the best in the world, but let's go ahead and we'll just call this example trigger. I said we weren't going to talk about scripts, and I'm immediately getting into scripts. My bad. But this is so cool. I just want to show you how much time this will save you. And we'll do the same thing for the custom UI over here. And so we click Attach New UI Script. We can call that example UI underscore entity. There we go. And then just as a reminder, I use underscore entity at the end to basically tell myself that it must be attached to an entity, which is what these are. Anything that's in Horizon is an entity. Anything that's out here, really. So now that we have those scripts set up, you can actually hit the 3 dots and then edit script to open it in the external editor. And so VS Code's going to launch, and then I just need to pop that into the top corner. There we go. Hey, yo, VS Code, get back here. Just trying to make you bigger. And don't freak out, but I'm in bright mode or light mode. I was going to use it for pictures because it blends better on Google Docs. All right, so in here you can see it's got some defaults filled out. There's a bunch of things in here that I don't like, so if you watch me make a tutorial on this in the future, I will explain that in that tutorial, but like panel height and width are not things that I do. The thing that I do like is it's already set as a UI component. I like that it's got the imports explicitly imported. It's got the initialize UI already set up. And more or less, I just come in here and delete a bunch of things that I don't want. And then I would change this to be 100%. So if you've never done a UI before, that just looks like this. And don't try this on your own because there's no reason, but I would change height and width to 100% or whatever percentage I want it to be. I just do not recommend doing this whole like pixels. But anyway, we'll get into that when I do a tutorial on this topic. Really cool though that it fills out a lot of the defaults for you. Really, really love that. And then the example trigger is going to do the same thing, which you would have seen in that video. And so it says player enter trigger, entity enter trigger. Now there was one actual mistake I didn't actually catch when I was fixing it yesterday. And so for if you're doing like player enter trigger, you can delete the entity enter trigger line. And again, you're going to see this in the next video. So kind of if you're getting lost, just wait till the next one where I dive a lot deeper in this. But you can delete what you don't need, which is pretty much everything, but it means you also don't have to create this, you don't have to create this, you don't have to create pre-start, you don't have to do, because it does the explicit importing, which is my preferred method, it takes care of that for you, so you don't have to delete HT dots. Definitely saves me a lot of time, which I love. It does have some weird oddities, like right here, this should be just, the way that I like it is to be player enter trigger, so I have to kind of customize that. It also should not be capitalized, that is probably just a way that they're automating this. And then they're using dot bind this, which is the community has come to an agreement that we're not doing that anymore. So we're going to take a quick, brief second to explain what the heck dot bind this is, and then you're going to forget it, and we're just going to click the pen. I keep clicking a pen like this. No, it's like this. So normally we do parentheses and we put the parameter inside the parentheses, and then we do an arrow function, curly braces, and then we call a function. And that allows us to manually select the parameter, that player in this case, and then pass it as a parameter into our local method. It's very easy to read that code. I don't like it sometimes because it's so slow to type. You have to type parentheses, arrow function. It's so much slower than typing dot bind this. The problem is dot bind this is easy to make mistakes, and it doesn't always report the errors. So much to my disappointment, last year it was agreed that we as a community would no longer use dot bind this, and we would start using arrow functions only. This is the right decision for novices who are learning, like probably most of the people who are getting started in this playlist are. You're not gonna, like, there are errors you can make by using dot bind this that just are almost impossible to fix unless you know about them, which is hard to do unless you know about them. So anyway, it's just a really good habit not to use it. And so if we look at the code, what it's doing is it's saying there is a method, player enter trigger, this local method, and I want to bind the properties that were being passed through this, which we have as the player, and pass them into this player enter trigger. Really don't use this. Like, there are payloads can cause issues with this and just so much more. So what this should actually look like, which is tedious to change, and I don't know if I would always change this because it is so tedious, but you basically have to, create your arrow function, put curly braces around it, delete the this, delete the bind, and then make sure to put player here, and then pass the player parameter in. And if you like semicolons, you'd put one in there. Shift-Alt-F to make it pretty. And like, that is a little bit of extra work. I cannot deny it, but you would have had to write that anyway, right? Like, if you're going to make a player enter trigger, that was going to have to happen. So this is great. This is absolutely great. Love how this works. And I say that because don't use GenAI script. Like, learn how to script, please. It's not designed for people who don't know how to script. Maybe in 10 years it'll be there, but today it is not. And I don't expect it to get any better anytime soon because AI has kind of plateaued recently. So anyway, just my 2 cents. Next up, so these AI generations are pretty neat. The ones I recommend using are like generating a texture, generating sound effects. If you do generate a 3D model, you're going to want to create your own texture for it because the textures in here are really bad. Oh man, I don't know. I really wouldn't recommend using anything other than generate a sky and generate sound effects. And even sound effects, like I mentioned, is kind of like more horror sounds. We'll go ahead and do a sky generation because it's just so incredible. So we're going to click magical rainbow land in the sky. Boom, generate. Give that a second. And so it's going to create a sky dome. Is there actually, there are other options. Interesting, I hadn't looked at this yet. Oh, we were trying to create anime the other day, and we were using sky dome, which is for realistic. Ah, we should have used anime. Darn. You can do more than one at a time now, so I can actually copy this and then change it to anime, click paste, and click generate, and then we'll have both of those generating. And it's pretty easy to use, as you can see. It does take some time, which can be frustrating if you're not patient. So these are going to turn into assets. So at this point, we'll talk about the asset library down here. So you can click on My Assets to see your assets. I save a lot of junk into my just main My Assets folder. It's better to organize this, but that's okay. I think I can collapse that a little bit. Nice. Okay, so here we go. Here's our realistic version. You can preview it by hitting this eyeball button, and there it is. And obviously that is, well, I mean, there are weird rainbows in the sky, but that's not what we were looking for. So you can click 3 dots, saved asset library, to save that for later. And that's going to get added down here in my assets folder. And then this one's going to finish, which should be an anime style, so I'm expecting it to look a lot better. Let's see, preview. Oh my goodness, oh, the preview is awful compared to the, wow. That's kind of fun. Yeah, that is pretty fun. And this is just a very quick way to get something around your world that looks good. Geez, that one's surprisingly good. 3 dots, saved asset library. And so let's say you make the mistake of thinking, oh, I applied it, I'm done, and you click X. Oops, it's gone. Well, not entirely. If you click on Gen AI again, you can click on this 3 bar to open your chat history, and you'll see designing a whimsical skyland. They're not using my text, but it's going to reappear here momentarily. And then once it reappears, I can click preview and then click save and apply. And what save and apply is going to do, or what it should do, give that a second to run, is it's going to create a new environment gizmo. So we're going to see our first gizmo that we haven't really looked at yet. But yeah, this AI is creating, gizmos or models or things that exist in the world. We call those entities. I was expecting that to go a little bit faster. Created Sky Dome asset added to my assets. And there it is. Okay, perfect. It is running a little bit slower than I would expect, but that's okay. If you press F on your keyboard, you can focus whatever's selected. So here's the custom UI, press F to select. Selecting environment, pressing F to select. You can see it's down here. It's at 0, 0, 0, which is where I like it to be. And then we can change properties on it. So you notice how the ground is pink. I'm not sure how well we can change that color. Let's see, we have shadow intensity, reflection intensity, texture rotation is kind of nice if you want to rotate it by like 30 degrees to get it aligned with your world. We'll change that back to 0. Exposure is kind of nice, but it does blow out really quickly. So be very careful with exposure. But if you wanted to make this like a dark scene, like 0.5, ooh, that's not 0.5. There we go. I was like, what? You can change that brightness there. Custom light intensity, that's curious. Light intensity, we can change that to what, 2? There we go, that's nice. So that didn't change the skybox intensity. That is very nice. I actually need to use that in one of my worlds. We don't have an ability to change the color. It's using the color from the sky to affect the ground. So we're kind of just locked in with this pink color scheme, but it makes sense when you look at the skybox. It can cause some weird effects if you have your own color scheme. So these are properties on the properties panel, right? Like if I unselect and then reselect it, that's what this section is here. These are our properties. And there are other properties on the environment gizmo, like you can change your voice settings. You have default, which is just like a normal distance. Global means everyone in the world can hear you. Nearby means it's smaller. You have to be closer to someone. Extended means that you can talk to people at a larger distance. Whisper is you have to be more or less standing right next to someone. And mute means they can't speak at all or no one can hear anything. So there's lots of different voice settings to use. If you go to your build drop down here in the top left, there is a gizmos section. And in the gizmos section, you'll see here's a default environment gizmo we can pull out. And so this is this is the default. You remember this. This is just where we started. And in here there are a few options. Custom gradient is one of the cooler ones, especially if you like doing your own art. Here we have it set to white, but we can change the color. So the top color will change to kind of a lighter purple. We can go middle color, maybe do kind of a nice little blue there. And the bottom color maybe is this kind of deeper, darker blue, kind of setting us in the evening tones. And so if I fly up, you can really see that. We can then change these top and bottom exponents to change the way that these blend together. So if we change this to, let's say 1, what does that do? Okay, so now it's a hard line. So if you want to make it look like an ocean, that's pretty cool. But we could change that to like 0.1 to make it blend a lot more. Ooh, not good, not good. Too much blending. 0.2, there we go. That's a much nicer blend. And then you could do the same thing on the bottom, like 0.35 maybe. And you get a nicer blend there. And if we jump into preview mode by hitting the play button up here, you can see what that looks like. Definitely casting a lot of color on the ground. Now where this gets really cool, that we don't have this feature for our custom skybox, but we do for this custom gradient, is you can actually change the color. Light saturation, I believe if we change that to 0, does that change the color? Might take a second. Maybe that doesn't do what I think it does. Okay, let's try exposure to 2. Okay, go back to 1, go to custom light intensity, change light intensity to 2. Okay, I guess we can't change the color that's being reflected. Darn. I was really hoping that we had that option. I thought we did. Light saturation, set that to 1. I don't see anything changes happening on that. It must be the way it affects other models or something. I'm not really sure. So we can also turn the grid off. So you start on this default blank grid, but you can turn it off and on pretty easily, just using this little switch on the environment gizmo. You'll also notice that only one environment gizmo can be active at a time. So if we select the other one, you can change it to be active, and that switches us back to the other one. This is something you can kind of change with code, kind of. Might have to make a video on that specific topic. I think it has to be done with asset spawning. It was really hacky last time I tried it, but that was a few years ago. So there might be an easier way to change the active state now. Yeah, I'm assuming there's probably an easier way now that we have TypeScript. So you can usually change, well, that's not true. A lot of these color things can't be changed that are color related. Very curious, very curious. Anyway, on most gizmos, the properties can be changed with code. Not so much with the environment gizmo. So it is kind of a good question what you can adjust and not. So that's custom gradient. If we go back to cube map, there are some defaults. Wow, to see white again. I forgot what white looked like. Wow. We can change the texture. They have a bunch of defaults. One of my favorites was Twilight Clouds. These are kind of like the traditional Horizon aesthetic. This, the very anime aesthetic. You get the really cool stars. So this was made in primitives. And my understanding of how this was made is basically they built this in Horizon, and then they basically took a screenshot of it, and then they made that the background. I wish that feature had become a reality. It would have made primitives insane, but unfortunately that never got released to the public, and then primitives have been kind of forgotten. For reference, primitives are an outdated way of creating worlds that was done in VR, but can no longer be done anymore, more or less. So just kind of forget primitives exist. There's also day clouds, so the same scene but during the day. You got day panorama, which has got this kind of like, but most of these, like I said, are built using the previous primitive methods, so you get these kind of shapes that are a little more, I want to say anime, but really not in this case. They're definitely a little bit more blocky. Night panorama is pretty good. The Midnight Black is just a default one, but there was one called Starfield. Yeah, if you're looking for stars, this one's good all the time, so that one's pretty good right there. You do get this kind of like Milky Way galaxy type thing going on. I think that's what that is, right? You're supposed to represent it. It's pretty nice. You get some special features in here as well. Oh my gosh, this is just one gizmo, guys. At some point, we're gonna have to look at some other gizmos. But yeah, there's so many features, and we haven't even talked about fog density. So if we set our fog density to 1, this doesn't really make a lot of sense when you see it like this, because you can see past the horizon line. But if we pull out a shape, so going to build shapes, these are technically primitive shapes, but they're not the primitives of Horizon. These are custom models or tri-mesh primitives. We'll go ahead and pull out this bulb. we go. And there's our bulb, and we should be able to see that becoming, yeah. So as I go further and further away, you start to see it get obscured by the fog until you can't see it. And let's make this larger. Scale 2, 2, 2, and then Control D. If we go to a top-down view, you really can't even see it from this high. We'll just create a couple of these so you can see what that looks like when we walk through it. Fog definitely can create a really nice aesthetic, so something you'll want to play with depending on what type of world you're building. So if we jump into preview, you can see when you're close, it's very clear. And then when you get further away, it definitely turns into that fog. And then we did see there was a property for custom fog color. It looks like we're getting a blue color based off the skybox. But we could change that fog color to be something very moody. Like, I would use something like this for a horror game, something dark. That looks pretty good. You do want to have like a whole background scene developed though, like I said, because this skybox is ruining it. So an easy way to demonstrate this would be to take a shape like the 10 by 10 plane. Let's pull that out. And we're going to manually place this in the background. So if we say position 0, 16, or excuse me, 5, and then 32, where did that go? There it is. And then we need to rotate it like snap rotations. If we grab our rotation tool at the top, we can then grab our snap rotate, change that to 90 degrees, and then rotate that on the red axis, boom. And now you're starting to see how that could, if you had a background installed, like around the whole thing with like actually, you know, good looking terrain, that would start to look pretty insane. So we'll go to the scale tool next, and then just stretch that. Yeah, so you definitely want to use fog with a full background implemented, not on an empty world. And then as we get closer, it starts to do that. Nice. Okay, so I think that mostly covers everything in the environment gizmo. If you have any questions about that, well, we'll get to that another day. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one, and we're going to delete a bunch of these primitive shapes that we're not using anymore. We're going to keep our really fun background because I like that. I think that's a fun vibe for the video. So I'll make sure that's turned to active. There we go. And we're going to start looking at more gizmos. So if we go to the Build tab, go to Gizmos. Also, I don't see any messages coming in the chat. If somebody wants to just say hello, that would be great. Hey, Rainmaker says so cool. Thanks, Rainmaker. Great to see you there. I was really worried that no messages were going to come through. I really was. So I feel like sometimes, you know, bugs happen. We have the trigger gizmo up here. We're going to delete these gizmos, and we're going to just walk through a few of these. So trigger gizmos are mostly used for scripting. There really isn't a use that doesn't require scripting, and today we're not talking about scripting. We're going to focus on non-scripted gizmos, so we're going to skip over trigger zone. But more or less, the trigger zone allows you to know in code when something, when somebody enters a trigger or exits a trigger. Hey, thanks Drew, thanks Lexi, great to have you Liz, Karma, and Doach. Great, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. So the next gizmo we're going to look at is the mirror gizmo. We'll go ahead and pull that out. And let's move this down. So you have slide tools over here. And I've seen people do some pretty crazy stuff with the mirror gizmo. So this is definitely one that I've been meaning to play with more, but I haven't had a chance to. We'll just awkwardly rotate it. We're not going to snap this right now. If we jump into preview mode. Hey, Fear, great to have you. 8-Bit, great to have you. Nafis, so great, you guys. Thanks for being here. We can click E, and it looks like this mirror is behaving strangely. Let's see, it says show name tag visibility is turned on. Photo capture has an option for it. Has edit avatar button. That's kind of nice if you want to allow people to change their avatar. Has frame aspect ratio. You can change it to 16 by 9 to make it wide. Very cool. Let's preview that. I'm definitely not seeing... Oh, wait. There's my name tags in there, right here at the top. So for whatever reason, I assume this is like a desktop editor thing where you can't see your actual avatar in the mirror, but normally you would see your avatar in that. Render radius, near LODs, resolution when you're near, far resolution. Oh, you can change the resolution. That'll make it a lot nicer. That's so cool. So a lot of properties in here that you can mess with. just be careful because this is giving us way more power than we deserve. 2000p? Oh my gosh, that's 4K. What the heck? That's insane. Yeah, be careful with that. You don't want to... Mirrors can be intense. We're gonna pause and breathe because mirrors can be intense. So imagine, for instance, you have two mirrors facing each other. Don't do it. I think you can, but don't put too much in your world because one mirror, it duplicates the amount of things being seen in your world. So when you have a mirror, it literally is doubling the content being rendered by your headset. Be very careful with mirrors. So that is that. Okay, so Mirror Gizmo has options for edit avatar. It has options to turn name tags off and on. Play with it, see what you can do. Just be cautious. I've seen a lot of people change the scale of these to make them bigger. This does cause weird things to happen to avatars that are being rendered, so I would be cautious with scaling it, but you can. And it looks okay. It's obviously not the best thing in the world, but it's okay. So we're gonna slide that back and leave it big. And where's that slide tool? We're looking for the red slider. There we are. Nicely done. Okay, so now that we've checked out the mirror gizmo, we're gonna go to our next gizmo, which is the text gizmo. Now this one we could talk about all day. There is so much for this text gizmo. Let's go to move this to 0, 0, 0, and then we'll move it up by 1, and then we'll move it, yeah, that's fine right there. I see lots of messages coming in. This is great, you guys. Thanks for all the messages. It makes me feel great. Osprey, great to have you. Corporal Dirge, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Great to have you as well. Drew, great to have you. He says, I like to look into the mirror gizmo and reflect. Ah, very nice. Your voice just went from 1.75x to normal speed. Oops. It's not quite a mirror. It's got a camera in the center of it. Yes, that's absolutely true. Great call out. It is not a mirror. It is actually a Unity camera that faces from the center. So it absolutely is not a mirror. That is so, so true. A great way to see this demonstrated, I think, is if we hit Control D and then slide it over. It's just boom, right there. And so a normal mirror would just continue like the pattern, but because it's a camera, not a mirror, this doesn't actually continue reflecting. So what a lot of people have done to kind of make it feel more like a mirror when you connect multiple is they rotate this till it looks right and then slide it into position. I'm not sure why I'm failing to do this. Something about our skybox might be messing it up. I'm not really sure. Or it could be the desktop editor, but typically you can rotate it to get it to line up. And it's not perfect, but you can do some pretty cool things, so definitely worth playing with. Great call out, thank you. Can you share a link to learn TypeScript for Horizon? Great question, Doc, or Dotch, not really sure how to pronounce that. Check out in the description, this is what this whole video is about today. The All the Things document is linked in the description, which has a lot of information for you on how to learn all the things Horizon. And if you go into the All the Things summary, you're going to see all the different things and how to learn about them. And the first video, this video is a part of a playlist, and that first video is this one right here. You'll find it on the channel. It's called An Introduction to TypeScript. An Introduction to TypeScript is going to get you the basics of TypeScript and then get you started with the desktop editor. And then from there, the playlist builds through a lot more TypeScript features. So check this document out. Link is in the description. And let me know how it goes. I would love to know how we can improve it. You can leave comments by right-clicking and leaving a comment. So if you have a better video or a better document, please do leave a comment and let me know. And yeah, so it's a working, living, breathing thing. We're still working on it. All right. Oh, Corporal is null value point. Great to have you, null value point. Thank you for helping me. The Meta website is good too. Lots of starter examples. Yes. All right. With the gizmo there, we're back to the text gizmo. And this text gizmo has a lot of secret features that you would not expect. So we're going to start with the first one, which is typing hello world. This is like the goal, right? To type messages into the world, and there it is. And this first little bit is okay, We can change auto fit. So if you want to make a static font size, you can change it to, let's say, 5. But auto fit is nice because it allows you to scale. Let's say we scale this down. Oopsie, Control Z, wrong scale. The gray one, you want to grab the gray box and then scale that to do uniform scaling. And then let's say we add more to this, like hello. We just change it to hello. Well, because it's auto fit, it's going to scale up. So it's now bigger. But if we go to do something a lot more complicated, like hello there, you interesting person, because it has to stay within that space, it becomes a lot smaller font. And that's pretty neat. We're going to go back to the default hello world. And we're going to notice that there are a lot of other properties. So we've got properties for color, which is pretty easy to use. Boom, color. So you can choose whatever color you want, whatever floats your fancy that day. We'll go with pink or magenta. And you can change the scale of the gizmo just like you can in rotation and position, just like you can with every other gizmo. You can also use your position, rotation, and scale tools up here. And then auto fit, I typically turn off because I don't want them messing with my font size as I change it. I usually want to do something simple like, let's say I set this to 4. And then I'm going to say hello person, so Lakes05 would be me. Ooh, not Lax, Lakes. Come on, there we go. And so then you could replace this with other people's names. And so we're just going to go with Robert, because he just messaged. Robert. And his name's a little bit longer. Cheney Jr. 8846. That is a good username. And so this one takes up a little bit more space, but the font doesn't get smaller, so you can still read it. Especially when you're thinking about mobile development, you want to make sure that everything is readable on mobile, so having a fixed font size can help with that. It does mean that it will go longer, so you have to take into consideration long names like this. And what I often do is I say you can have up to 15 characters, and so I limit it in code. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which would happen to just cut off the numbers in this case. And so you get it truncated just a little bit, but it's nice for keeping things within a certain bounds. I'm not going to show you that in code today, but that is something that we could talk about. Feel free to ask for that in the comments section if that's something you want to see on a future video. So we've got this basic text. There's another document on text, and I wonder if it's in the all the things gizmo. So if we go to the gizmos section and we go down to the text gizmo, let's arrow over. We don't have the link here yet, but I have it. It's on the Learn website, and it is the text entry tutorial, Control-A, Control-C. And so, like I said, we're still working on filling this out. There's a lot to do. But now this document here, if you scroll down, has all of the formatting options and features of the text gizmo. And this is pretty incredible. There's a lot. We're not going to go through very much of it, but there is an absolute lot you can do. So feel free to check out this tutorial, now linked in the All the Things document next to the text gizmo. So very cool. If we go back into here, let's try applying some of those formatting options. Like there was a sprite. So if you type sprite equals 5, we're going to choose a random sprite. Let's see which one we get. Hey, nice one. There are sprites available up to number 15 is the max. Oh, it's a sad that there's not more, huh? But you can go as low as 0. There is one duplicate in there. I don't remember what the duplicate is, but I don't think 16 works. Let me check 16. Yeah, so 16 is you've gone one over. There are 16 total, with including 0 is max is at 15. So you can make a random in code. You can do math.random to choose a random number and then choose a random emoji. That is a lot of fun. And there's 2 or 3 different sprite sets, so might have to look into that some more. All right, so that's a sprite. We're going to go back and use sprite equals 5. I thought that one was good, right? Nice. And then we can also change the font. So if we type font equals bangers SDF, and there are only like 7 or 8 maybe 6 fonts available. There's not that many. Like one of the better ones, in my opinion, is electronic highway sign. It's a long one, electronic highway sign. There we go. But you get this really cool blocky text, which is great for like sci-fi worlds. Let's change the color so this is easier to see. There we go. So this text is great, especially for building digital displays. But yeah, all of those are listed there. And there's options for bold and underline and a bunch of things you'd expect. You can also break to a new line by using BR. You can say new line, exclamation point. You can also turn a font off by using /font. And so definitely encourage you to check out those options. This text gizmo is insanely powerful. One of the most powerful parts about it is it can be updated 60 times per second without it really being a big deal. So if you need to have a display that's constantly updating, text is a great way to go. We haven't gotten there yet, but there is a custom UI gizmo. So a lot of people are using text these days are using the custom UI gizmo, but the custom UI gizmo is only supposed to be updated once per second. So if you're trying to do something live, like displaying game stats and then a timer and a bunch of other things, it's actually a little bit better to use a text gizmo. Text gizmos are less efficient if you have too many of them, so be careful in some ways, but they're also more efficient in other ways. So I don't know. I just the mentality for optimization is that you build the thing and make it work, and then if it's not working as you intended, like it's slowing down or things are getting buggy, at that point think about optimizing. So there you go. Whew. All right. I think that mostly covers the text gizmo. We have options to turn it off and on, which you can do in code, which is great. And you can change font size in code too. So if you wanted to do like just this last new line, you want to change the size. I think it's just SIZEE equals 5, or that'll be 1 bigger, right? Yeah, just slightly bigger. And so you can have different lines have different properties and whatnot. You can even change the color, which is actually really cool because color equals, now it's hexadecimal. So if you don't know hexadecimal, I will teach it in just a second, but we're going to just do FF0000. And then that's going to make the bottom, pound. I forgot the pound symbol. Yeah, come on, up. And pound. There you go. So you can change the color of each. So you could have new be in color and then /color. So seriously, a lot of properties that are actually way harder to do on the custom UI gizmo are really easy to do on a text gizmo. So just bear that in mind. If you don't know hexadecimal, I'm going to show you another cool feature before I teach you hexadecimal, which is we can change the opacity of this. So we can make it transparent by typing in, let's say, A0. And now you can see that this new is actually see-through, which is really neat. Depending on what you're building, having transparency is also really cool. Okay, coming back to the camera, I'm going to teach you hexadecimal. I see a lot of messages coming in, but first, hexadecimal. So what is a hexadecimal value? It's a value ranging from 0 to 16, or 15 through 15. It's 16 digits. It's a 16 digit. So we count in base 10. Let's start there. So we would count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And like 10 is the next set, right? Like 10 is the next 0. So you go 0 through 9. In hexadecimal, we have 00 through FF. Well, it's actually 0 through F. We'll get to double digit counting in a second. But you have 0 through F. So you go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just like normal. But then we need 6 more characters. So then you go A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's 0 through F. And that's your 16 characters. Now colors are in 16-bit, which is 16 million colors is the default. So you got 16 million colors to work with. But to get 16 million colors in RGB, you have to have 256 times 256 times 256. If you're not into math, ignore that. I love math. But anyway, to get 256 RGB values, you have 16 times 16 is 256, which is 0 through F and then 0 through F. So you think we count 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, all the way to 99? That's basically what's happening, but in hexadecimal when you think 0, 0 through FF. And so where our numbers base 10, 10 times 10 is 100. So we max out at 100 if we count 0, 0 through 99. You can do the exact same thing in hexadecimal. So you take 16 times 16, that's 256. So our numbers in hexadecimal max at 255. So you range from 0 to 255. Now to actually see it as 255, we'll start counting. So I'm going to count to 16, and then we'll see 17 and see why it's special. So you go 0, 0 is the first value. 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6, 0, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0A, 0B, 0C, 0D, 0E, 0F, right? That's the first section. And then the next value, we take our first number, 0, and we move it to 1. So then you go 1, 0, and you go all the way to 1F. And then you keep doing that until you get all the way up to FF. And so now that you know how to count in hexadecimal, you can create colors in RGB because you have 3 different values. And so if we go back to the code and quickly look at that, you'll see that we have hexadecimal FF, which means 100% red. We have 0 green, so the first 2 values are red, the second 2 values are green, the third 2 values are blue, and the fourth set of values is your transparency. So A0 is partially transparent. We could go even more 0, like 2, 0, and now it's almost invisible. We could go almost fully solid, which would be 5F0 is like almost, you can barely tell that it's transparent. Like it's like, wouldn't call that transparent. But yeah, okay, whew. That's hexadecimal at light speed. Now, let's check the comments and see what you guys are saying. I love hexadecimal. Can you tell? I love color. I love color. It's fun. Some of the first worlds I built were color science worlds. No worries, Robert. Null value point. No, Robert's different than null value point. You're good. Sorry. It's similar looking logo. Ignore me. Thank you. You're welcome. Robert asks, in Unity, can you add a render texture to a cube and either make a rear view mirror with a camera or play a video? Is there something similar in Horizon Editor? Oh, so you're saying you can add a render texture to a cube and make it a rear view mirror. So I guess you could try playing with the mirror gizmo like we had. I've never tried that. I imagine it works. If you make a mirror gizmo animated, you can probably move it around. I also imagine that that is very intense on the computer. Like, I don't know that you really should do too much of that. Like 1 maybe in your world. Like, the rule of thumb for mirror gizmos is you should only have 1 in your world. If you have 2, you're approaching like world problems. So if you're thinking like a bunch of cars with rear view mirrors, please don't. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a bad idea. But, you know, give it a try. I mean, if it doesn't break, more power to you. So I've been surprised literally in the last 2 videos. I've just been shocked by features that I didn't think would work that did work. So I would love to be proven wrong. Like maybe the smaller space works. But yeah, give it a shot. See what happens. Welcome in, Galactic. Great to have you. I'm pretty sure that's you. Party face. Sorry if you covered it. No, you're good, Robert. My lasting memory says, what up, Horizon Builders? Hey! We're working on a space in Horizon Worlds called the Real Node LA. Very cool. Robert says, import event data from events data. You left this on Discord. Is event data a TypeScript script? I don't know what you're referring to specifically, Robert, but events data is typically how I store my local events and custom events. So when you're doing TypeScript, you have to, sometimes you have to send events. Most notably when you're talking to somebody's headset. So it's possible to take the server and send a networked event to somebody else's headset, which is very, very niche, and I do not recommend anyone do it unless they have to. But in those cases, you need an event. So you create the event, usually an events_data file, at least that's how I do it, and then you can access that event from both devices and be able to receive it on the player's device and send it on the server device. So that's what the events data file is for. Mask for the background color. That's curious. I'm not sure what that's about. Mark, not mask. Oh, Mark, yes. So you can highlight. You can do highlighter. Like, yes, very cool. Great, great point. My lasting memory says, I tried to drop in an NPC character. He just sat there. How do we activate an NPC? They don't have automate. They're not automated anymore. You have to like. They're not automated at all. They never have been. I think Meta has some working demos that they're building that do use AI to make NPCs wander and talk, but those aren't available to me, at least, or in the public. So I do have a tutorial on the channel. Look for it. It's on how to make avatars move. It's very, you know, the latest one was actually really easy, but the first one I did was really difficult. So if you're having trouble, ask in the Discord. I'll try to find the newest video, because I was shocked at how much easier it was the second time around. But when I say easy, for someone like me, that like is like an undertaking for someone who's never done TypeScript. So I shouldn't use the word easy. I would call that probably in the hard category. So on the all the things document link in the description, I'm labeling things as easy, medium, hard. Easy means something you can learn immediately and apply with almost no effort. Medium means it takes a little bit of effort, and hard means it's actually really difficult. You're going to spend all day working on it, or maybe multiple days. Like very, very difficult is what hard is. There is one extra category called time consuming. Time consuming is something that's relatively easy or medium, but does take a very long time. Custom UI is a great example of this. It's relatively easy, but it does take, literally I've spent over a week building one custom UI. Like they're very time consuming. They're not that hard though. They take a lot of work, which is in that demonstration with the text gizmo, you saw we were able to change the color and the font. To do that on a custom UI is insanely difficult, which is why I have so heavily emphasized, consider using the text gizmo. It really can be a lifesaver in many cases. Corporal, which is null value if I'm not mistaken. If you want to move them, you need to use nav mesh. Yep, yep, good call. He's asked, what about gradients? You're right, there are gradients, and that is included, and I'd encourage you, because we have to run on our timing here, if we go into the text gizmo on the all the things document, you click on this link. If you scroll down, there is a bit on gradients here, and so we have set gradient options you can use, like gradient yellow to orange vertically. There's also some horizontal ones in here. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing one. Maybe they're, I'm not sure where the horizontal one went. But anyway, there are horizontal, but you can actually change the color by painting the text gizmo, which tints it tints the gradients. You can create kind of like custom gradients by tinting them. They're very difficult to use, but there are a few, and that information's here. So feel free to check that document out. Okay, rolling. The keybind script. I'm so far behind because we were just talking about that a little bit ago. The keybind script for the events. I'm not super familiar. You might need to tag me on Discord, and I'll look at it after the call. Corporal says, oh, mirrors don't render other mirrors, so it shouldn't be a huge hit. I should test if moving it locally and hide it from other players will help performance. Okay, so that's good. I didn't know that. That's great to know. I think they did at one point, so they must have fixed that. But the mirrors also are still rendering a copy of your world. So if you have 10 of them, that means you're rendering 10 copies of your world. If you're looking in the direction of all those cars, right? Like it could be very dangerous. Play with it, see what happens. All right, guys, let's keep rolling to our next gizmo. Great questions in the chat. Really, really enjoyed those. Okay, so we've got our text gizmo here. We're now going to move on to our next gizmo. We've got this spawn point gizmo, and we actually already have one in the world here. So let's pull out another one. Why would you need 2 spawn point gizmos? Well, if 10 people join your world at the same time, it's actually really nice to have multiple world spawn points. And if you look at this, you can see it says spawn on start, meaning it's a world spawn point. And if we jump into the world, one of these is going to spawn in front of the text, one's going to spawn to the right, one's going to spawn more in front of the mirror. So we hit play, and we spawn in front of the text. We close and rejoin, we spawn in front of the mirror, and it, I do believe, cycles through them. Maybe? Maybe not? I'm not sure. I think when everyone spawns in at the same time, there we go, now we're in front of the mirror. It could be random, but I feel like when multiple people spawn in, it distributes them. It's hard to say. But there's another option, which we hit Control-D, slide this over, and you're going to see you can turn off spawn on start, and I don't think we can do this. Yeah, and there was a feature in VR that doesn't exist, so for anyone at Meta who wants to redevelop it, you used to be able to, in VR, click on this to select which spawn point you wanted to spawn in as. It was kind of nice. It'd be nice to have that on Desktop Editor, but not required, because on Desktop Editor you can also right-click and click Preview from here, so that's another way to get in. But anyway, so with this not spawn on start, you can use this for scripting. If you want to teleport someone to a specific location, this is a great way to do it. Teleporting with a spawn point gizmo is the friendliest way to teleport someone. You can change their rotation without changing their without getting them motion sick. You can change their player gravity when they come in using the spawn point gizmo, the player's speed. So if we're going to delete this one since we're not using code, but this is what you would do if you needed this to not be a world spawn point, but like they're teleporting somewhere. And then you would do that with code. We're going to delete all these but the world one. Here it is, F to focus. We can see that it's also set to third person, so for cross screens you can change it to, like, let's say orbit, and now when I come in it's going to allow me to walk around my character, which is really cool. I actually like that a lot. Being able to look like that, that's nice. Love being able to see the front of my, I love this shirt too. We just listed these shirts in Murder Manor. Shout out to Galactic who designed it. She did a fantastic job. It says cute but dead. Still can't see my character in the mirror, but that's okay. So back on the spawn point gizmo, we can see that we can also change the rotation of the player at a spawn point. So changing the rotation adjusts how they spawn in. So now we're spawned facing the other direction. We can change, if you use set position only, it won't change the player's gravity or speed, but I wanted to show you setting the gravity. I think the lowest is like 1.8. We'll try 1. Yeah, that shouldn't work. I mean, maybe it does. Let's see what happens. Jump into preview mode, jump. That seems a lot lower than usual. Let's change it to lower. Let's go to 0.05. Like almost no gravity. What's going to happen? So we're in, we jump. Okay, you can now go to near 0G. Wow, that's new. I guess go have fun. Your players might get lost though, so be careful. Be very careful. 1.8 used to be the lowest you could set a player's gravity. They must have updated that. So this used to be the lowest, yeah. And then, I don't know what the highest gravity you can set is, but if you set it really high, it basically, oh, 9.8. No, that can't be right. 10? Oh, 9.8. Play. Basically makes them heavier, right? Interesting. Player speed, you can set to be really fast. 50 is going to be insane. It looks like it limits it at 45. Hit play, and you'll see you go a little too fast. A little too fast. But you can also slow them down. I don't like being slowed down. Don't slow me down or I'll leave your world. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. You slow me down, I am going to leave. I hate that. That kills me inside. I hate it. If you make it so I can't jump, I will leave. There's other camera options. So first person is another option. I will warn that in some cases we've seen that these settings are not being applied all the time when people join in the world. So don't rely on it. The third person is the default. Hopefully Metal will get around fixing that. I've in some worlds had to manually set their mobile camera, which is very difficult to do, but try to rely on this and then we can just keep reporting a bug to Meta. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh man. I feel bad, but some people will literally spawn you into a world and you can't jump and you're like frozen to the ground and it hurts. It like hurts my soul. I've gone into some older video games in VR where there's no jump button and I just go insane. I need to be able to jump. I need to be able to get on top of things. I need to be able to wander and be an absolute terror. If I can't be a terror, I'm going to be upset. There's also a way to turn off the run feature. I need to be able to run. If I can't run by clicking the sprint jump stick, oh man, my experience is like you're messing with my real life body is what it feels like, which I know sounds insane. So like I do not recommend playing with these too much. Be careful as you play with them. Like seriously be careful with them. Because for some of us who've been here for years, like these are our motor controls. This is what we think of when we think about moving. So being able to jump is really important. Being able to click the run button and run. You can turn that off, but don't be messing with people's controls. And I genuinely leave worlds when I run into worlds like that. It just kind of like immediately I feel like I've lost a limb. I had this experience the other day. I woke up, I'd slept on my arm, and I literally couldn't move it. I've never had it that bad before. It was the first time where I literally couldn't move. I thought, move, arm, move. And it just like, it was maybe doing like this a little bit. And I remember picking my arm up and shaking it to get it to move. It was so crazy. And then eventually the tingling sensation finally came back a few minutes later. But the point is, losing limbs is not something you want to do. And like, that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like you've lost control of something when you like take that away. So please don't. Build good worlds. Build good worlds, not mean worlds. Okay, I'm gonna quickly look at the chat, just see. Can you show how to replace the avatar with a customized one? Unfortunately, that is not available to the public, so I'm not allowed to talk about it. If you go into the document that we keep bringing up, which is why we made this document, there is a section in here called NDA features, and you can click on this button to learn a little bit more. That's all I can publicly share, unfortunately. But yeah, so I don't even think I'm supposed to tell you that avatar overrides means customizing someone's avatar. Like, I think that's literally a secret. So oops, don't tell Meta. Whoops. Thanks for laughing, Lexi. Doc, I'm going to keep calling you Doc. I feel like that's the best. For example, in Super Rumble, the player can select various powers to apply within the world. Customize one, or let's say show how to activate acceleration. Oh, well, activating acceleration is totally something that's doable. It's a great request for another video. It's a very good request. Unfortunately, we're not doing coding really in this video. We're really focusing on gizmos. Can you import Mixamo animations? You can. I don't know how to do that yet, but they just added that feature publicly. Let's see. So you go to the Learn website, and you search for Mixamo, and then click Search All of Developer Center. Nothing popped up. I am logged in. They're called Avatar Animations. Animations for custom UI, player animations, use physics. Might be under player animations. No, this doesn't look right. I'm not sure where they linked this. It might be in the update when they announced it. But yeah, that's something I've heard about. We haven't added it to the document yet, but at some point we'll add that feature to the document. You'll be able to find a link to it once we find the link. We just haven't found the link yet. Player.locomotion speeds at 10. Yeah, exactly, Corporal, or null value point. Absolutely. You can just use locomotion speed.set. That's an easy way to do it. Oh, I spelled Mixamo wrong. Oh, sure, we'll give it another shot. I just don't think I could find it. I'm not sure. I didn't see it when I searched animation, which kind of to me was a red flag. Mixamo. Search all developer center. Oh, there it is. Look at that. We found it. Creating avatar animations. Control C. Boom. All the things getting a new document. We'll put this under. What does this go under? Is this? I guess it's mostly tied to a Horizon API. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to put this in the bottom for us to work on later. And it's just going to be called tab, Control V, creating avatar animations. Boom. And like I said, this is a living document, so we're just going to keep updating it, adding new features. I imagine this is in the harder section, so I'll put it as medium until I've actually tried it. I'm not sure what category that fits into. We'll learn more about it. But yeah, there it is. There's the link right there. Feel free to check that out. That is pretty sick. Control C, Shift Control New, Control V. This does require you to be logged in, but I think it just requires an MHCP login. I'm pretty confident that's available to the public. If it's not, whoops. Okay. I read that if you import a model that has animation made in Blender and try to activate the animation, it doesn't work. Yeah, I think that's correct. That sounds right. You're only able to animate players, I believe. So it's just for creating player animation, not for model animation. They have not made importing Unity asset bundles is not a thing yet. Okay. Hopefully it will be at some point. Back on gizmos, we have more or less finished with the spawn point gizmo. The next gizmo is the door gizmo. So build gizmos door. Doors are great for giving users a place to go, like in addition to your world. Let's rotate that 180 degrees. And so here we can see the default door. Slide that up just a little bit. And that's going to send you to Horizon Central, which is probably not where we want to send them. But we can select our worlds. So I can send them to, let's see, anything good in here? Murder Manor, why not? So you can select that. Pretty easy to do. The next thought is you can have multiple doors. So Control D, have another one. You want to space them about 1 meter apart because they do have a pop-up, an information pop-up. So it's like Power Wash. Right-click, preview from here, and click E. Interesting. Yeah, it's a little different on mobile than it is in VR. Not actually sure how to get that to disappear. Is there an X button? Escape. There's no way to close that. Oh no. Did I really? Escape. They added a new feature today. I haven't tried it yet. Let's try it out. It's called Shutdown Server, and press confirm. It should shut down, and then it loads us into a new server, question mark? Wait, nothing? That's it? Really? That's what it does? Well, okay. Okay, so they added the shutdown server button. I thought it was going to be a lot more useful, like it would just shut it down and reload you into a new one, but it actually just shuts off the server and sends you back to your home screen where you then can start a new server up. So the problem is, like, we broke that world. Like, there was a menu, there was nothing I could do. So the only way to fix it would be to leave and come back, which can shut down the server, which is why we shut down the server. So there's bugs that sometimes you need to shut down the server for, and that's why we did that. Cool. And that was a good example of one. Oh my gosh, I can see my feet. Oh, I could just see my feet, that's it? Oh, what a tease. Look, there's my shoes. What the heck? That's so funny. Okay, anyway, mirror gizmo. We're done with mirror gizmo. We are done with door gizmo. There's more you could talk about with the door gizmo. Like, I like scaling them to half. They still get a giant pop-up next to them, but you can put them up on a display, still keep them spaced apart. The pop-up doesn't appear unless you're in VR, so there's thoughts there, but 1, 1, 1. Nice. Interesting, it looks like they changed the anchor point to be at the bottom, because when you scale it on the mid, it actually, like, that's interesting. I was not expecting that. Typically things are anchored from the center, but they have the anchor on this set to the bottom. That's new. Okay, build, gizmos. We've talked about the door gizmo, we've talked about the environment gizmo, the dynamic light gizmo. Now this one's pretty great. You can create quite a few cool effects using this. Let's see, where is our dynamic light? There it is. Let's move it upwards or sideways or something. I got the motion tools, but I can't see them. Oh, this is that bug I heard someone else talking about. Welcome to Horizon full of bugs. If you're new here, welcome in, cuz. Anyway. So the new bug is related to using this world stop button. How interesting. So I've lost control of my movement tools because they're stuck here at 0, 0, 0. That stinks. Well, anyway, so here's a light gizmo. We can move it down, and what you're going to see is it's going to put light on the ground. So we're going to set the position to 2, and now you can see there's light coming out of it. We can change it from a point light to a spotlight. Now it's directional. We can then rotate it downwards. Let's try 90 degrees here. I think that's pointing down. Nice. And then it looks like it's not putting off a lot of light. Let's change the intensity to 5. Does that start to do anything? Doesn't look like it. It might be because this is such a large plane. Fall off distance, spread. Change the spread to 90. Hey, there we go. Yeah, it's because this is such a large plane. If we had a regular object, the light would work a lot better on it. So if we grab like a sphere and pull it in. It looks like all of our models are going to be moving to weird locations. You can copy a position by right-clicking, copying position, selecting, paste position, and then moving it down to 0. There we go. And so you can see this is what it's actually doing, but because this the floor is so large, it applies light weird. This is also kind of close, so that's kind of probably part of it. Let's move it up to 3. Nice. We can also change it from a spotlight to a point light again. We can change the color of the light. And all of these properties for color, intensity, and fall off can be changed with code, which means you can create these really cool dynamic lights that change color. That color didn't really apply very well. But you can see, like, we can change color. We can then change intensity. You can move the light gizmo and the light follows it. And they're really neat. Just be cautious, because if you have too many models that are being lit by the light gizmo, so if you change this fall off distance to, let's say, 100, not 1,000, and you have all of your world within that 100 meters, you suddenly are now lighting all of the models, and that can create some unexpected lag. I experienced this when I was building Murder Manor. We had 2 light gizmos to light the manor with the basement. We switched it to just 1 light gizmo, and that more or less solved the lag problem. It's still not perfect. But we have a light switch now, so you can turn the lights off and on, but we only use 1 light gizmo for it. And we're just very careful fine-tuning the fall-off distance to get it so it's not super laggy. And it's weird because it feels like a static light in there, but it's really not. So I think we should, if we ever remake that world, think about better ways to do the lights. Okay. Let me take a look at the chat, see what messages are coming in. That is the light gizmo. The model must be in an FBX format. That is true. Is there a link for that document that all the learning is on? Yes, it's in the description. You should be able to see it when you open up the description of this video. It's called all the things. Hey, welcome in, Ted. Great to see you. I've been on World Build Grind and about to start a series of events. Very nice. Sounds great. Exciting. Very, very exciting. Look forward to hearing more about it. All right. So now we have our world. We've got this dynamic light. There was something I wanted to try. I don't think it's possible on the desktop editor, but we're going to give it a go anyway. If you right-click, you can create a parent object for your entity, and this creates a group. Now, a grouped object has a special feature, which is that there are more features. And one of them that I was thinking about is called animated. And, ooh, it does have it. Okay, cool. So you can record an animation on the desktop editor. I wasn't sure that this was a feature. Let's try it out and see how it works. So if we hit record, and then, oh, we can't use our slide tool. I guess we'll just move it to 2 real quick, and then 1, and then hit stop. So we've now recorded this animation. We can then play it back on a loop. I like back and forth. Now imagine I had done this smoothly. It would actually look better. And then we can set it to play on start. And now we've created this motion. And let's go ahead and hit play. Oops, wrong play button. World simulation on. There we go. And so what we should see is the light should be changing. I don't see it changing. The light gizmo does not appear to be moving. Is it? Is it? This is the thing that we're moving. There it is. Hit play. It appears to have turned off the animation of the dynamic light, which is quite peculiar. So I guess maybe you can't use a recorded animation on a dynamic light. Maybe? Let's put the primitive sphere inside the animation and then move the light outside. And then we'll move the light back up to 5. There we go. And so we should see, I think we just need to move this up to 4. We should see this light, or this, yeah, it is moving. You can see that's teleporting around. And does the light change on it? Can you see the light changing on it? It's really not doing that much animation. It's kind of shocking. I think it would be easier to see if we had this light moved over to the side. So 2. We should be able to see the angle of the light changing. Oh, it's too fast. You can change the speed of an animation. Right here we can change the speed to like 0.1. And now that should start playing. Oh, but it's 10 times slower, so we have to wait 10 times longer, watching the angle of this light. Come on, any second now. Maybe I'll turn world simulation. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it. What's really interesting to me is that it's actually smoothly moving when we set it to 0.1. I don't know if you saw that, but it did actually go down slowly, which is weird because I used instant motion by, like typing in the code. Normally I would, okay. I think I saw the angle change, but maybe just barely. Anyway. Okay. Animation! That's a thing you can do. Normally we'd use the slide tool or the rotate tool, and it's even better when you're in VR and you can move things with your hands. Well, anyway, typically, if you're following this series, you're going to learn how to do that with code, and we've got a couple videos that you might have already gone through. I'm not sure if I'm putting this one before or after the motion tutorials, but those motion tutorials will teach you how to do basic motion and rotation. And so you'll learn that anyway. But yeah, that's a complicated topic. All right, lots of questions coming through the chat, or messages coming in the chat. Says, perhaps this is off topic, but related to door gizmos. Is it possible for a player to visit another world, always keeping the same variables to continue the game sequence? Yes, you can. That's totally on topic. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek. So if you go up to your systems dropdown, there's a feature called variable groups, and variable groups allows you to have variables that are shared across your worlds. We'll go ahead and create one. I don't really want to create one. Let's see. There should be a way to add it to the world. Owned by me. Here we go. And so here's one that's kind of from an old tutorial. You can click 3 dots and then click add to worlds. And so we'll just click add. And then once you take that, it's now in both worlds. We can see added to world. So this is in the apple clicker world tutorial from ages ago, and it's also in this world. And so it has 3 persistent variables in it. So we can see it has the number variable apples, number variable birdseed, number variable up by. And so you can use those values. You can also create JSON object, which is like so good, so good. And so these JSON objects can store up to 10,000 characters of data. They're really quite fantastic, way better than a number, so you can really create cross-world experiences with that. Definitely. So absolutely great topic. Number, we haven't talked about how to use these in code yet in this series, but we will get there. And there should be a section in the all the things document about it as well. All right, let's keep looking through the chat. For example, let's say a collection of coins in the first world and moving to the second world, it can be useful to keep the same amount of coins. Exactly, and that's how that would be used. Sweet. Null values responding there. And Tay says, yes, that's possible. Just duplicate the world's quests and variables into the world users. Nice. Okay, cool. Great job, everyone, helping out. Next up, let's take a look at another Gizmo. I don't know if I want to take a look at another Gizmo yet. I wanted to show you one more feature here, just because I think it's interesting. If we grab another shape, let's pull out this weird truncated pyramid. And I think it's going to once again go to 0, 0, 0 due to the weird behavior. I might need to shut down the desktop editor and reopen it, to be honest. We're going to copy position. We're going to paste position. Ooh, it's not even pasting. Try that one more time. Copy position. Oh yeah, we're getting into the things aren't working state of things. We'll try copying the position of this thing inside of it, which shouldn't do us any good. Let's go to, I think it was at 5, and then 5. Oh, and then it was down by 3, and then I want to do over by 1. There we go. And if we move that into this group, there's one more thing I want to show you. So let's go ahead and turn off animation, or we're going to turn off play on start so that the animation we recorded isn't being applied. And then what we can do, because this is a group, this only works on groups like this where you have an actual, set of things. You can then go down to, why is it not here? Oh, Billboard, here it is. And if we go to Billboard, we can change that to be lock Y. And what that's going to do is it's going to rotate to face the user. You can also do freeform, which will allow it to rotate on all axes, so even from above and below, whereas lock Y is only along the Y axis does it rotate. But it's pretty neat. There's definitely some better examples of how to use this. I think we can create one real quick. Let's see if this works. Delete. Let's go over to our mirror gizmo, right-click, create a parent object. By doing that, we've now got a group. Because we have a group, we can then turn Billboard to lock Y. Hey, and it works. We can then, we do need to set this to animated. It might work anyway. I'll explain why in a minute. Let's change the Y rotation to 90 degrees. That is not looking pretty. Weird things happening right there. That is not how that's supposed to behave. Position needs to set to 0, 0. Okay, now that's behaving correctly. Somehow this empty object moved position. Let's change that to 0, 0, 0. And I'm not really sure what the heck's going on with this. It seems a little buggy. Let's change the position to 0. Oh, it's this internal object got moved around somehow. I don't know how that happened. If we click on the photo booth, we can move the Y value is already down. That is so bizarre. Yeah, this is behaving very bizarrely. But anyway, you can see we got the mirror rotating. Let's move this down though by like -3. And then preview. And so yeah, this lock Y is really cool. Whoa, why am I so slow? Did I never fix this? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna leave this world. Preview from here. There we go, now we're back. right? Yep, so that's now following us, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I've really played with that. It's so bizarre. The way it's behaving is very bizarre, but yeah, anyway. Okay, I think that's where we're going to stop on that section on animation. Just need to catch my breath for a moment. I do want to, at the same time, shut down the desktop editor and reopen it because we're getting a few too many oddities. I can't say. The mirror is a child. It needs to be 000. I said it's a 000, but there's the group, and the reference point is off. It's just, I don't know if it's a weird Horizon bug or if things are permanently broken like that. I don't know. The new saying, you'll hear me say this because I think it's too funny to not keep repeating, is functioning as intended, where it's like, what? How is that functioning as intended? But you get that from Meta all the time. Slow chat should only be like 3 to 6 seconds. Let me check. Slow chat. Slow chat. I don't see this setting. Let me click edit real quick. I needed to rest my brain anyway, so this is a good just a moment. Oh, slow down is set to 15 seconds. Sorry. Let's change that to 5 seconds and save. I do want it to be slow, but not that slow. I think I used a previous live stream for the default, and that kind of messed it up. Thanks for calling it out. There are some users who will come in and like spam and then just click enter, enter, enter. So I do want some amount of slow mode on, but definitely not a 15-second slow mode. Hey, welcome in, Michelle's. I'm not going to say the rest of it, but Michelle, great to have you. I don't want to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. We have so many more gizmos to get to. Let's see where we're at on our timeline for today. It is currently 1.5 hours in. I was hoping to spend about an hour. So we're definitely at the point where we've gone past, but there's so many more gizmos. So I think we might need to point out things, and this is going to require some personal investigation. As you can see, it's usually just a properties panel. You play with the properties panel, you get some stuff. There's also the all the things document where we're detailing how all of these things work. And for really important gizmos, we're going to go and make a video at some point if there's not already one made. And we'll be adding those to this playlist at the end so you can go and look into topics that you're interested in. Okay. Hello. Okay. I've already said hello. All right, so we need to open up the desktop editor. Give that a moment. That's strange. Oh, got it. And let's head back into this world. So based on that experience, I would not recommend using the shutdown button. It does appear that it is currently broken. I imagine at some point it will work as intended, but it does seem like it's causing issues. So whoops. That's what I get for testing a feature literally within a few hours of it coming out. Oh man, it's still broken. Oh my gosh. Yikes. I don't know how we fix that, to be honest. Maybe restarting the computer. Do not, whatever you do, press that button. I think they're going to fix this because people are already talking about this in the Discord. So this has got to get fixed soon, but yikes. So by the way, Horizon updates on Monday or Tuesday, usually Tuesdays. And when the update comes out, it tends to break things. So be warned, be cautious on Monday or Tuesday. Next up, gizmos. So we've talked about shapes, I guess not really, but let's very, very quickly talk about shapes. So you've got all these basic shapes you can pull out. These are great for just like gray boxing your world. Gray boxing is when you build your world just very quickly so that you can, start play testing and then you bring in the 3D models later. Like let's pull out this sphere. I can't do too much because this world is kind of broken, but we can move it around a little bit. Let's move it up to 5. Let's move it over by 5 in the other direction. And then if we go to the properties for this, you can change the texture. I've got a rainbow texture that I've been using. It's not bad. It's kind of cool. It actually looks really cool. That's really neat. That is really neat. But you can upload textures to your asset library by going to My Assets, clicking Add New, and then you just upload PNG textures. There's lots of other features you can upload. I haven't tried uploading a Skydome yet. That's kind of neat. Text is for coding, but it's not like a script. It's for like a text file, a JSON object, basically. 3D, but you don't really need it. Most of the time you don't need it. You just create your own data file. You only need it if you're importing an actual dictionary. That's when you use text. Like literally if you need an actual dictionary, you'd use that. But anyway, texture. Textures can be imported. As you can see, they can be applied very easily. You can reset the texture back to default by hitting the reset button. And then we're going to continue using this one here. And then there's lots of textures. Nothing that we're going to touch right now, but you can also change the tint color. So let's say we wanted to tint this rainbow pink. We can do that. And then we'll click tint strength of 1. Now the ball is completely pink and the texture has basically no effect. It looks like it does have some, I think that's coming from the light. So yeah, there's no effect from the texture. But we can change this to 0.5 and now it's lightly pinkifying our texture, which does some weird things to green and blue, it appears. So 0, right? 0.1. But yeah, play with that. You can make some really interesting adjustments to your stuff. You can change the brightness to make it darker. And now it's kind of like a beach ball. Let's go to 0.7. Nice. And then if we go to our animation, there's a few other animation properties. So you have interactive. And once you're in interactive, you get options for grabbable, physics, or both, physics and grabbable. We're going to just go with physics and grabbable. And disable physics while grabbed. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep gravity on, and we can use a custom gravity if you want. So for a beach ball, you might set it to like -5, so it behaves a little bit more like a feather. And maybe minus, yeah, we'll try that first. And then there should be properties down here for the physics. So here we've got physics materials. I would recommend trying out rubber ball to make it behave a little more bouncy. And then you can change these properties to adjust the friction and stuff. So like static friction, dynamic friction. I'm not really sure where I'd want to change that. I'd change bounciness to like 0.9 to make it more like a bouncy ball. There's physics material sounds. So you can change the sound that it makes, which has some pretty interesting things. They're really just for playing with. And so if we hit world simulation on and let go of it, it's going to bounce. And there we go. Not bad. And if we come into the world, because it's a grabbable, we can grab it by clicking E. We can throw it by hitting Q. You can then click your left mouse button and give it a nice toss. And that is an insane toss. That's that low gravity. Because it's fell below the world, these do come back after about 4 or 5 minutes of falling. So eventually that would respawn. We can also just turn off the world to get it back. Yeah, I recommend writing code to make sure these things come back after a few seconds after being thrown, or like if they go below the world, but not in the scope of today's video. So yeah, there's some basics there. There's also options for like grab lock, which means they only have to click it one time if they're in VR. You can change a lot of these properties. Honestly, there's just too much to talk about. So do you allow two-handed grab as an option? Do you want to use grab anchors? If you use grab anchors, where are they anchored to? The position and rotation. The avatar pose when holding you can change. So you can try these poses out to see how they'll look. So you may be able to give it a shot with sword pose, and then hit world simulation on and preview. Now if we walk over to the ball and hold it, we're holding it like a sword, which looks kind of interesting. It's more like in my hand, but that might be a thing you want to do. So lots of things to try. Whew. I don't do office hours so much, Fear. Thanks for asking. I might at some point, but for right now, I'm just focusing on specific tutorial topics. I'm really busy this summer is kind of the short of it, so I just don't have time. But this is the closest we've had to an office hours in a while. So I appreciate you guys jumping in and asking questions. Tay asks, what animations? I'm jumping on the editor now. Oh yeah, play with those different animations. There's a lot about animations, so I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but like there's avatar animations, there's holding position animations. There's a lot. Back on our Gizmos tab, we've mentioned the dynamic light. There's also a static light, which has the same properties as the dynamic light, but for just creating static lighting. Lighting is baked on world start, which typically there's nuances to that, but we're not getting into that right now. But static lights more or less make it so you can have lighting, really cool lighting features without having to, so I'm just gonna put this at the center of the world, without having the overhead cost, because you remember I said dynamic lights take up a lot of capacity, like performance-wise. So now we can change this to be a ellipsoid. So we've got different shape options, and we can change the intensity to like 50. We should see blue appear in the center of the world. Maybe I need to move it up by 2. There you go. I guess blue is competing with pink, which makes it white. So if we go with something more in the same tone, maybe red, change the intensity to 100. Things are getting a little out of hand. This would not look good. Not really sure why I can't get that to behave super nicely, but if we move this over in a different direction, like -25, so further away, we can see that. There we go. Now we're getting a nice little red. Oh, I keep forgetting. We're on the grid. The grid doesn't really take color very well because it's so big. The larger a mesh is, the less it'll take color. So if you have a giant plane for your ground, or you use a 3D model for your terrain, it's not going to accept light very well. So just kind of be warned. That's why these aren't working so hot. Okay, so that's static lights. Static lights also take a little bit longer to update when you're moving them around on the desktop editor. So as we like move this one to 5, it should take a second to update. It's not too bad, honestly, but slide that over. Yeah, pretty cool. And you can create some really cool looking lighting, especially if you're using real meshes, not just like a giant plane like this. So pretty neat. All right, going back to gizmos, we've got the trail effects gizmo. This is pretty neat. It allows you to make a trail. You can group it with a grabbable, or like, let's go to the ball. Trail effects should be coming out. And if we move that to the position of our ball, right click, create parent object, and then we'll grab the position of that. I'm not sure if it'll, it's 550. Let's just move this to 550. That's easy enough. 5, 5, there we go. Oh, and you could see it. You could see the trail right there. So that's the trail. Trail effects are pretty awesome, but you can group them into stuff like the ball. And if we drag that into this ball group, when it falls, which we'll have to turn physics on the new group because there's now an outside group, make that interaction, make that physics for now. And we'll just hit super bounce, super ball, and then hit world simulation on. Now what you should get is a nice bouncing trail. And if we go into preview mode, you can see that is really neat. And if I go underneath it, it'll bounce off me. So you can like, but we can't grab this one because we didn't turn grabbable on, but you get that really cool trail effect. And there's a lot of properties to the trail effect. So you can make it tapered, you can change the color of it. So like tapered trail is the one that I prefer the most. You can change the color, you can change the length, the width. People use this to make drawing crayons. You can draw all over your world and stuff. Very cool trail effect. In addition, we have the particle effects, which has different visual effects properties. So if we move that up by like 3, we can set that to looping and play on start, and we can see that there's like a hit spark. Go ahead and hit world simulation on, so you can see that spark. Change it to hit ring, you can change it to confetti. So there's a bunch of different like defaults. Now these are actually not that impressive compared to the new stuff. These are really, really basic. So most of the time I'm kind of avoiding these now because the new things are held under asset library. If you go to public assets, I haven't looked for this in a while because they changed the way this is set up. It used to be up here. But under asset library, if you go to interactive, right? And interactive, let's see. Oh, there it is, VFX. So here's the VFX category. It looks like people can upload their own VFX in here, which could cause this to get convoluted. So you might want to click Meta Horizon to see the official ones. But here are all the visual effects you can now pull out. And what's really cool about these is that they can be customized. So one of the my favorites to customize is pollen. Or is pollen? Dust, steam, sparks, leaves, magic, ghastly skulls. I swear there was a pollen in here. I wonder if it's under dust. No, it can't be under dust. That looks too weird. I'm really concerned that I don't see this. There must be more hiding somewhere. I'm not sure where these are because it used to be a lot easier to find, at least in my opinion. Let's go to 10 and check leaves, leaves, leaves. These are just different leaf types. Okay, so here you can see the leaves blowing in the wind, and you can also notice that you have custom properties for this, like you can change the color, and you can change kind of the wind speed and direction of the wind by changing these numbers. You can change the wind direction, the particle size, so many properties. The emitter size, I think, is like how big is the area that it's being emitted from. You can play with these, and you can change how long they last for. Be careful, as always, that these can cause performance issues. And I'm not sure where that, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn off all of these and just search for pollen. Nothing was found. Let's see, is there another section in here? It must have been something else. I could swear it was the pollen. Weird, really weird. I'm not sure where that went. Anyway, pollen was my favorite because you could make it look like snow. So I'm not sure where that's at. But anyway, continuing on. Gizmos, we've just talked about visual effects and some of these new visual effects gizmos and how you can change them. There's the sound recorder gizmo. This really works in VR only, and on desktop you can just upload a sound file to your asset library now. You just go to My Assets and then hit Add New Audio. So there really isn't a need for the sound gizmo unless you're in Horizon VR and you're recording it with your Quest headset to do like a voiceover. Quests is a board that shows people's quests in the world. You can create quests from the Systems tab. So there's the quest creation menu here, so you can create a quest. You can set quest complete in code. Continuing on, we have the World Leaderboard gizmo, which allows people to see scores, like high scores. So you can go into Systems, create a new leaderboard, and then you can set the type of leaderboard, if it's descending, ascending, the name of it. You can change it to be a resetting leaderboard using a player persistent variable, and all sorts of stuff. So leaderboards are really cool for competitions and keeping people competing to be number one. The projectile launcher allows you to launch a projectile. That requires code more or less, but it is very cool. Snap destination is for not mobile users, for VR users on, yeah, it's gonna be hard to demonstrate this on a desktop, but if you're a VR user and you have, move this over by -5, if you are on teleport mode, this is a location you can teleport to. And by setting the rotation, you could make it so that the user is specifically facing a point. It's great for making like places for people to stand or sit and just making it a much better experience on teleport mode, but it's very specifically just for teleport mode. So I don't use it very often, pretty much never, but mostly because I don't teleport. If I was a teleport user, I'd probably use that a lot more. Because I just don't think about it, right? So snap destination is really cool. Raycast allows you to fire a raycast. If you're not familiar with raycast, maybe ignore this. But a raycast allows you to fire like instantaneously. I mean instantaneously, and find out what's in front of you. So you provided a position, you provided a rotation to fire from that position, so a forward direction. And then it tells you if the distance, so you can on the raycast gizmo provide a distance value, and if that distance, if there's something to hit, it returns what was hit, where was it hit, what was the normal of the hit. Pretty quick, pretty neat. There's properties on here to adjust distance and stuff, but this is useful in coding. If you're looking for something that's physical that you can see, you want the projectile launcher that makes something. The raycast is invisible. It's just for coding to like determine if there's something in the way. Okay, debug console is a cool feature. I think this is available to the whole MHCP now. This allows you to have an in-world console in your published world or in preview mode. There's a few properties on it. So move this to like 10, press F to focus. And so here you can see what this looks like. I use this in almost all my worlds. It gives you start, stop, reset buttons. It's very fantastic. Testers can even use this in your worlds if they're in the MHCP. It's quite nice. Continuing through gizmos, we have the world promotion gizmo, which is just a button that says save world for later. So you can put this in there, apply an image. Let's move it up to 15, press F to focus. I said 15, why didn't you move? 15 and then F to focus, there we go. And so you can see, do you want to revisit this world? Save it for later. But you can also change the picture that's being showed. Apparently you can only do that in VR, which is hysterical. This whole gizmo only works in VR, except for VR is no longer supported. So anyway, That is so, so funny. There's light mode and dark mode on a lot of these menus now. So you can change it to dark mode if your world's darker or if you just like the theme. So that's pretty neat. So that's like applies to the quests and the world leaderboard. You have the custom UI gizmo for creating custom user interfaces. These are really cool, but they're also very time consuming and they have some limitations. In-world purchase, it allows you to sell items in the world. That's a much deeper topic. NPCs are really cool, still being, they're hard to use, but let's move this over to, let's go to -8 and then up by 1 and press F to focus. So here you can see we have an NPC in the world. You can change their display name to, let's say, Bob. Hi, Bob. And so you can see their name changes. It says bot underneath it. You can then change their appearance. Editing an avatar takes so much work. Oh, you can change the name tag. That's so cool. What? I haven't tried this before. Oh, wow. And you can create gradients to like really make them special. How cool is that? That is so neat. Then title? Quest giver. Wait, what? Whoa, that's really neat. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Those are really cool settings. Those were not there last time I used this. That is very cool. Editing an avatar is going to open up your browser and then it edits the avatar. I wish there was a randomize button. This just takes so much work. I mean, absolutely so much work. You just have to like, you could easily spend an hour making a custom avatar for your world. And like, that's not the worst thing in the world, but like, I mean, this is just, where's the coloring? There's just so much, and there's outfits you have to pick. Like, I just wish there was a random button because it just takes so much time, right? And like, you start with this basic user, so then you have to go through so much work to swap everything out. And yeah, let's see, can I change color? Where is anything related to color? Hair should have a color. Is there not? I'm going too fast. There's the color wheel. Go with like a cool pink. You know, but then you're starting, everyone starts with the same default. So like if you don't run through here real quick and just like randomly select stuff, you're gonna get the same exact basic shapes that every other avatar has. This face shape is not great. Sure. There we go. That's our quest giver. It's not great. Oh, it's because of the shoulders, isn't it? Body type. Are we getting there? It might be a little too much, but you can see like there's so many features. We really need a I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know. Like, I haven't spent hours in here yet. So there we go. That's Margot. Anyway, but then you hit done editing, save. These are really cool. There's a lot you can do with that, but that's gonna load into here. It does take a second. You can hit the refresh button. I thought it would be a lot faster than that. I just realized Bob's a girl. It's a girl Bob. That's a thing, I think. Anyway, the point is like you can make these, but it takes so much work. So anyway, take your time when you're ready for it. But it's also even more intense to code these. Like to get them to actually do stuff is even more intense than that. So I would genuinely not even worry about making them look good until you've made them do what you want them to do. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents there. Gizmos. Media board allows people to post photos to your world. This is pretty neat, and they can like the photos that have been posted to your world. So if we move this to, let's say 25, press the F key, here we go. I guess we can't see it because it's not in the published world, but in the published world you can see this, you can post photos. You as the world creator have to approve the photos, so there's quite a bit of extra legwork that goes into making it useful, but it is pretty cool. Asset pool is something I do not recommend using. It's not as stable as I would like it to be. And making an asset pool is actually really easy to do in code. Like if you're gonna use coding to the point where you need this, you might as well do it yourself. and do it right. Oh, I've never touched it, but my understanding is that asset pool does not allocate extra resources in case the world goes over the number of players. So here my plea meta, fix that bug. So right now, if you go into any world, it's very likely it can go over by 1 or 2 the number that it says is the max. So if the max is 16, there might be 17 people in there. And I've seen instances where there were 3 or 4 over the max. And the asset pooling gizmo doesn't allocate an item for those people who come in extra. And typically, the more overcapacity your world is, the more performance. And also, we think it might be related to the number of editors and testers you have. We're not really entirely sure. But the point is, you can go over the number of users, and if you don't add a couple extra, the world just breaks, like for those users that have come in that are over. And that's not a great experience. So I do not recommend using the asset pool gizmo, even though it's supposed to make your life easier. I think it's going to make, you're going to run into a lot more trouble. Maybe they'll fix it at some point, and I'll start recommending it, but for today, I do not. The avatar pose gizmo is literally just a sitting gizmo. I hope one day it gets more poses, but for now it's just seated, and you can go sit in it. There's a lot of downsides to the sitting gizmo. Let's move it to a place where we can see it. -7, -2, F key to focus, move it up by 1. There we go. And then we'll click preview. So if we go over to this sitting gizmo, which you need to have a visual indicator so you know where it is, but anyway, you sit. The problem is, at least as of last I heard, there was no way to get this user out of the seated gizmo. So they're just kind of stuck there until they move. So if you need to get them out of there because the game needs to progress, they're kind of just, they can stay there as long as they want. And then you have to handle whatever downsides that means. So in Power Wash, you can sit in some of the cars, but then the cars get moved below the world. And so the users get stuck below the world, and we have to tell them how to get out and give them a pop-up message to explain how they can get themselves free. Because some people don't know how to get out of the seated gizmo. So anyway, they're cool, but there's some definite downsides to them, so be aware. The World Shop allows you to list your in-world purchase items, but not including avatar clothing. So if you have access to avatar clothing, that's a feature that has not yet been added, at least. I hope they do. And then the navigation volume is related to nav mesh, which is NPCs and how they navigate. You use navigation volume to define the area in which you want NPCs to be able to navigate. So we can say move this to -5, or excuse me, +5, and then F to focus, and then we can make this really big, like 10, 10, 10, and that didn't go on one of these axes. Let's go 25, there we go. And so this whole, oh, that's so weird, that's not working. Oh, this one is the one that was bagged up. Okay, so this whole area would be the navigatable area that NPCs could walk in, and if you had cubes and stuff here, what this navigation volume does for nav mesh is it says, this area is walkable, so, and such and such and such. So that's related to navigation. There's a whole, that's a deeper topic. We do have a few videos on that, so worth checking out. Commerce is for creating sellable items. Leaderboards for creating leaderboards quests. We talked about that. We talked about variable groups relatively. Scripts, you can create scripts. You can change the script execution mode to local. I don't recommend doing that unless you absolutely need to. It's very, very hard and kind of buggy. We've talked about Gen AI at the beginning. You can rename your world. You can change properties for your world. So let's go to the publish world page. You have all your different settings, your name, your description, your comfort level, and all that stuff. World pictures as well. There is player settings, which allows you to set the number of players. VoIP settings is for builders who are in your world, not for, so confusing. It's not very well described here, but anyway, it's for build mode. Emotes allows players to use their emoticons in VR when they're using their hands. I think you can also do that on mobile in a different way. Emotes have audio, so whether that's enabled, please leave those enabled for me. If you don't, it's okay, but like for me, I really, really like my emotes and I like the audio. It's another extension of my personality, so getting those turned off always hampers my experience. Can hands collide with physical objects is kind of a neat thing you can do. A lot of different settings. Custom player movement is the only way to use player.motion. Player.position.set. Anyway, that's a there's a lot of things in here. We're not gonna be able to talk about all. I don't think footsteps actually works. I'm pretty sure this, for whatever reason, it's still here, but it hasn't worked in a couple of years. They tested it for 1 week and then turned it off, and it's never ever worked ever since. Hiding action buttons by default is something I recommend for mobile development. It's a longer conversation that we don't have time for today. Enabling max quality avatars is good for a low player count world, but not so great on a high player count world, because low quality avatars makes it so you can have more players. Whew, yeah, there's a ton of things. And there's a bunch of other buttons in here, some that I've never clicked on. Backups allows you to see, snapshots of your world that have been saved. You can restore to those backups. You can also forward dates. If you back up, but you've saved a copy of the current state, you could go back, grab something you deleted, and then copy it into your asset library, and then go to the future version and bring it back. So backups are nice. You can save a backup there. Exporting geometry allows you to export something to like Blender or whatever, so you can work on it more. World capacity really doesn't apply anymore. A lot of people are looking at this, but this is really not how we track worlds anymore. It hasn't been for almost 2 years. To track worlds, we use performance-based metrics. So we're looking at like how many frames per second are you getting, how many draw calls are there, what's it like when there's more players. These numbers are just kind of like guides, but realistically, it's like when you publish your world, can you see smoothly? Are you getting lag? Are you getting motion sick? Those are things you got to look at. So, World Insights. I feel like that's going to open up the website for. There's a website you can go to with a bunch of other tools. So if we go to Worlds, here you can see your worlds. There are a bunch of features in here as well, and you can open your world details page to see the world. This one isn't actually being used, right? But you can see the scripts for a world. You can see insights for the world. You can preview a version of the world. So we have a version of Power Wash based off of yesterday's tutorial, which I'll quickly show you. Pretty neat. I'm really proud of what we've built in here, but it's not published yet. So previewing allows you to test it before you've published it. And so in just a moment, we'll be able to see that. Give that another moment. And of course, you do want to preview on mobile as well. I don't usually preview on mobile. There is a way to do that from the desktop editor, which I guess I can show you while we're waiting for that to load. So you go to the simulation off. Oh. Oh, I guess I don't know how to mute the audio. All right, I gotta go to the radio. Turn it on and mute. There we go. All right, so over here, this is the thing that I built. And if we equip our water gun, we can spray to change the height of our avatar. So now we're extra tall, which is pretty cool. We get even taller. And like now you can clean from up high, but you can also get really small. So if we go down here, now we're tiny. And I can't wait to see users running around with different heights. And then we can walk over here to reset our height back to normal. Anyway, so that's a good use of preview mode. But you can also go to this 3-dot icon here, and there's preview device. You can preview on mobile, you can preview on web, you can choose a specific device type you want to preview. You can click to get a link to preview on your phone. I haven't tried that, but would be worth trying. And I think the phone preview is actually pretty interesting. So if we hit World Simulation on and play, you can actually see what this looks like. And then I'm using WASD keys to move around, but you can actually use this to move around because it's two-handed. So like this is looking, and then I'm using WASD keys to be my other hand to walk around. You can see you've got your jump button. And you can try to see like how does your game experience feel on mobile. Like right, you walk up to this. That should have appeared. Maybe. Anyway. Yeah, you get the idea. It's quite neat. So I prefer to just keep it on none when I'm usually, but anyway. Lots of settings. Thought there was one other thing I really wanted to show. Kind of forget it, but that's okay. So we've got all of our buttons up here. You've got move, rotate, scale, snapping for those right here, which can be turned off and on with the click of a button. You've got all your features over here. You got you can search your hierarchy for specific things. Like if you want to search for tri-mesh models, we've only got the one sphere in here. You could search for sub D if you're trying to find something that's not supposed to be there. Sub D is primitives. So sub D and trimesh can't be mixed. That's a more complicated conversation, but anyway. There's attached scripts if you want to find gizmos that have a script specifically being run. You can search for particle effects. So there's our particle effects in here. Anyway, filtering is great. Love filtering. Assets. You can make assets public. Oh, I want to show you how to make an asset. So we've got this ball here, right? F to focus. There's our ball. So this is our rainbow ball. And good to give it a good name. We can then right-click and create asset, which is going to add it to the assets library. You can select a folder you want to store it to. You then have to rename it again. I really wish this would just copy over the name, but it doesn't. Rainbow ball. You can give it a good description and go ahead and click create. I recommend keeping everything with template asset. The other version is no longer supported, so it has some downfalls. So just use the new one. Now that we've got our rainbow ball, we can make it public. And so you can fill this out and publish it. You do need to add a thumbnail. It's a lot of work to make a public asset, but then it's in the public asset library where you can currently search for Vidyuu and find a bunch that we've already shared, and more are getting added all the time. So quite neat. There we go. So here you can see the ones that we currently shared. There's a performance section over here. That's interesting. I haven't played with this yet. Looks like it's just for opening a trace. NPC debugger, haven't played with that yet. That's interesting. It's new, like as of a week or two ago. Console is where I usually stay because you can get your console logs. Showed how to create an asset. Showed how to parent an object. You can delete things. You can unparent, right? You can unlink instance root, so it's no longer linked to the asset, and then you can make a new version of the asset. Or modify this, because once it's an asset, you kind of can't modify it because it's linked to the asset that you created. Let me go look at the chat because I haven't looked there in a while, and my brain is starting to get a little bit fried, but we've done it. I feel like we've gone through pretty much everything that's not script related today. Let's go take a quick look at the chat, guys. How did you throw the sphere? So you press the Q key, and then you press down on your index, and then it throws. If you're on mobile, you hold down the drop button until the green circle fills up, and then it let go, and then that throws it. So there's a few different ways to throw on mobile. None of them are great, but you can get decent. I actually was making basketballs the other day. I was very, very impressed with myself. On the way, change the held animation on an item that's grabbable. Oh. So in the animated section, there's a property for interactive. You turn it to animated, and then interaction is turned to on, which gives you options for grabbable, physics, or both. Okay. Hey, oh my gosh, Sassy, I haven't seen you in way too long. Great to see you. Thanks for jumping in the chat. And let's go. So what else we got in here? You can also use commands like this. Player.playAvatar grip pose animation. Yeah, absolutely. Pollen is under dust. Thank you. I didn't find that one. Appreciate that very much, Noel. Robert says you can choose VFX on the drop-down for newer effects. Very good, very good. Event script button in public assets. Media board is disabled on cross screens. Oh, interesting. Good to know. You can kick them out now. This.posegizmo.player.set null. Nice. That is great news. We can kick people out of seats. Oh, very excited about that. That is so neat. I want to play with it, but I just don't have time right now. It is the end. We've done great. We did it in 2 hours, which is kind of what I was expecting. I was like, I want to do it in 1, so it'll probably take 2. But here we are. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you have any other last minute questions, drop them in the chat right this second. I'm going to wrap by telling anyone who's joined us here at the end what this whole call was about. We've been discussing the All the Things document, which is linked in the description. And All the Things has a welcome page. You can then go to the All the Things summary to see all the things that we've currently covered. We're working on expanding this. This is a living document, so to speak, and we're continuously adding new features. I really want to thank Osprey for helping me an immense amount, especially with the Horizon APIs. He has been invaluable filling this out. I am only halfway through the core API, which was 3,500 lines of code to get all of these in. So there's quite a bit more still to go through. I'm working on it. But we do have player and entity, which are 2 of the biggest ones already in there. And then at some point we got to start putting the learn more links. So there'll be links to video tutorials, there'll be links to meta documentation. And if you'd like to help us, you can by right-clicking and leaving a comment with a link to a thing that you find very useful, whether that's a video tutorial or a other tutorial or a different website. Would be happy to have your guys' comments popping up there. I see we actually have one comment over here, which was from me. Ah, that's right. These are no longer called player persistent variables. They've renamed them. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah, PVARs. They now call it PVARs. But yes, this is a living document. We're constantly growing it, making it better. Feel free to come check it out. We're putting in descriptions as well. If you want to be heavily involved in this and you feel like that's something you want to work on, send me a DM on Discord at Lakes05. Would be open to discussing that. But yeah, so huge document. Let's see if we had any questions come in. We had one maybe. Robert says event button I cannot find in public assets, and I was wondering what to look in the drop downs to find it. Event button. I'm not sure what the event button is. What is the event button? Bum bum bum. Event button. So there is a thing that you can make events. Oh, we didn't talk about empty objects. So empty object is like this parent object that you're seeing here. They're great from just running a script. Sublevel we talk about in our world streaming video that just happened, so you can learn about sublevels there. That should be later in this tutorial. Launching My Horizon Creations opens that web page we were on that shows your worlds. Oh, and we didn't talk about the sounds section. So here's all the sound effects. There's a bunch of default ones that you can use. These are actually pretty decent, pretty good. I actually pay for a sound library from a creative website, and so I download sounds there to get more unique sounds. Colliders allows you to have a cube collider, sphere collider, or capsule collider. These are way more efficient than a mesh collider, which is the default when you bring in a custom model. And so swapping it out with a cube or a sphere or a capsule is a lot better. They're going to make your world a lot more performant. The most efficient of them is the sphere. Of course, they're not as perfect, but they're not as exact to the mesh. So in some cases, you do want to use the mesh collider. But if you don't need the mesh collider, using a cube or a sphere, especially on distant objects, is a very good choice. Okay. Note that spheres are usually not as accurate the larger they get. So large spheres, less accurate. Whew. Did we get any more information about this event? Because I don't think I'm going to have the... Oh, VFX. Maybe you meant VFX button I cannot find in public assets. Oh, so how did I get there? Let's do that again. I went to public assets. I clicked on all, and I scrolled down. So I used the scroll wheel on the right, and it's at the very bottom. So hopefully that helps. And if you're not seeing that, I'm not sure. I assume it's, maybe you need to be in the MHCP, but I assume you're in the MHCP, so I don't know. That's curious. Okie doke. I think I'm going to wrap there, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for the great questions today. You guys have been fantastic. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to leave comments on this video. I prefer for you to join the Discord, though. The Vidyuu Discord link is also in the description. That's where I monitor the most. YouTube doesn't actually surface me all the comments, and they actually delete your comments. So, please use Discord primarily. It's better. We've got a community there. I really appreciate everyone on the Discord who answers questions. You guys are fantastic, too. Thank you for helping. Without further ado, I will see you in the next one. I do anticipate there's going to be a lot more of these smaller videos coming out, so stay tuned for that. I'm very busy, so I just kind of do them when I have time or when I feel inspired. So when you guys ask questions, I get inspired. So I appreciate those questions coming in. Galactic, thanks for joining. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Tay. It's such a pleasure. Everyone else I didn't mention, but I will see you in the next one. Bye.